We're Kim and Al. Last year, we made some pretty big changes. We retired, sold our house in the city, and moved north to an old farm homestead at the end of its life. Our plan is to build an off-grid home ourselves. This year, with our solar and septic systems completed, as well as basic four-season shelter, we're ready to take on the challenge of building our forever home. We're excited to share our experience as we continue to create this new life on the North River.
Oh baby, I love your madness. It's so incredibly beautiful. Oh, you shine like gold, so selfless to all, and wild like an animal. Some would say I'm insane in the right in a way, but I just love to play in your fun and your games. Always hungry for more, that's just how I was born. Take me somewhere I don't know, and give me your freedom. Whoa, you let me to pieces, yeah I need it. Once you're pandemonium, life is so easy. Whoa, you let me to pieces, yeah I need it. Once you're pandemonium. The limit of love is endless, I know. Just do what you want with me. Yeah, I want it all. Could care less the cost. I give you my everything. Some would say I'm insane in the right in a way, but I just love to play in your fun and your games. Always hungry for more, that's just how I was born. Take me somewhere I don't know, and give me your freedom. Whoa, you love me to pieces, yeah I need it. Once you're pandemonium, life is so easy. Whoa, you love me to pieces, yeah I need it.
You filming me? Yeah, you do.
As a young girl, it feels we're mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raced our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care in the world. I was one rich little girl, daydreaming.
So we have gone through all of the barn board that we have in our pile over underneath the tarp at the side of the tent, as well as the stuff that we've already charred. And we don't have enough of the 6-inch and the 8-inch pieces that we've been using on this bottom section to finish this back side and the north side. So what we're doing instead is Al has measured the north and the south side of the drip edge, and we're just using the rest of the wood that's in that pile. He's cutting it up, I'm gonna burn it, and we're just gonna kind of get that part done today, because we're likely gonna pick another day to pull new boards out of the farmhouse and make that, you know, an all-day endeavor, just because it's pretty dirty in there and we don't really wanna break up the day that way. So anyway, we're pushing our little assembly line along, and we're still making good progress, so it's all good.
Dream up a world of pirates, climb the highest tree, fall down. Mama, I'm fine.
Morning, folks. We were asked to do an in-depth review of Starlink. Hey, Fred, how you doing? As in-depth as I can get anyways. I'm not an engineer, so I'm not going to be able to give you the nitty-gritty about how it works or what makes it special versus other satellite providers. Although I'll just say this off the bat, it is a two-way communication. It's not like old-school satellite. I know that the way it used to work was your download would come via satellite to your dish, but you needed to be hardwired to either dial-up or DSL, some kind of, or a cable maybe as well, but you needed a landline to upload. So your download was via satellite, your upload was whatever provider you had. So it really wasn't a true off-grid solution, because if you're in the middle of Timbuktu and you had no access to phone lines or anything, you really didn't have an internet solution. So with Starlink specifically, it's a low orbit satellite system. They don't orbit as high as the other ones. I believe that helps in providing better service during inclement weather. Although I've read, and we have experienced a little bit, if you have heavy snow or heavy rain, just like other satellite solutions, it will hamper the performance a bit. Doesn't kill it outright, but it'll slow down or limit your bandwidth. Our experience with it was great. We weren't on the grid, or sorry, we weren't on the radar of the Canada Post. So when we first were looking for providers, none of them even knew we existed. We just our address wouldn't register. So Kim had to go through a bunch of hoops and tasks to get us back on the map, so to speak. But once we were, we went to the Starlink site, put in our address, and lo and behold, they had a beta pilot that we could take part in. So the only other option in our neighborhood would be DSL, and from talking to the neighbors, the bandwidth isn't super fantastic. So we went with Starlink, a little more expensive. Yeah, so about $150 a month, which is not, in the realm of higher priced internet packages, at least in the GTA where we're from. I know in the States it's a hell of a lot cheaper. I'm not sure why Canada gets so hosed, but that's a topic for another conversation. At any rate, so at about $150 a month, and the upfront purchase, I think it was $600 or $700 for the equipment. And it just happened to arrive, like literally I was using garden shears to clip the grass around where we parked the trailer. We had just pulled in here. We were still a week away or so from having the rest of our stuff delivered. So we had just showed up in the field, and the FedEx truck showed up not too long after and dropped off this box. Box is about this big and that deep, and it contains the dish, the stand for the dish, wireless router, and the modem. Basically it's an all-in-one package. So the dish on top you see, Kim will show you some pictures of the router and the modem. The cable runs off the back of the dish, and it's just a little Ethernet cable that plugs into the modem, which in turn connects to the router. That's the dealio, that's how that works. There's a heater inside the dish, so it's supposed to kind of self-regulate and heat up to melt snow off. Given that, the power draw of this unit, and that's one of the downsides to it, is that it's about 80 to 100 watts. So anybody that's savvy with off-grid living, that's 100 watts an hour, 2.4 kilowatts a day. It's a significant load. So my recommendation and what we do is you want to have a shut-off plan, and the good news is that it's built to be just turned off like a light switch. Apparently doesn't hurt the unit. So you can either have an outlet that is tied to a switch and just physically turn it on and off when you need it, or you can just old school unplug it and plug it back in. Or what we've done, a slightly more sophisticated, not very expensive, is we purchased basically a power bar that can be turned on and off remotely. So it comes with a little fob, and you plug the Starlink unit into the power bar into the inverter, and then from inside we just use the fob to turn on and off the internet as we need it. As far as download speeds, I have seen as much as, I'd say around, at least in our area, and I imagine it varies, as much as 170 megabits down to as little as about 15. And then the upload, it doesn't seem as restricted as cable internet was. That seemed to be throttled depending on the package that you bought, but I've seen uploads as much as 60 megabits per second, though typically around 15 or so. And if I had to guess at an average for as number of times as I've run speed tests, I'd say the average is about 45-50 megabits down. The only thing that I couldn't really give you with true certainty is the uptime reliability. So we've had some moments where it seems like it's working and it shows that you're connected with the little Wi-Fi symbol, but the satellite itself is not getting signal. So it just says that you're offline, and you can wait, and typically it sorts itself out. I don't know if it has to repoint to a different satellite or what it's doing, but that's the only thing, is that if I was doing my old job where I'm working 10 to 12 hours a day and need to be constantly connected, I can't necessarily say that it's 100% solid and as reliable as cable, although I gotta be honest, as reliable as cable is in my neighborhood, you know, I still get interruptions from time to time and have to fight with the people to diagnose problems and all the fun stuff that goes along with that. So, that being said, just to make sure that I summarized everything, it's about a $600 or $700 upfront cost, about $150 a month for the service. The equipment, when it gets delivered, very simple to set up. You can put it anywhere in your yard, just needs to face north. It does suffer from some, you know, signal degradation or performance degradation when you have heavy rain or heavy snow. But the good thing is that little heater inside that can that kind of takes care of any ice buildup on the dish. And, you know, bonus points for the off-gridders, you can always go in and configure. There's an app you can download to interface with the device, and you can kind of tweak some settings, including the heater. So you can either have the heater come on automatically, or you can have it on demand, like you basically go through the app and turn it on as you need it, or you can just turn it off altogether. So I think that would drop the drawdown, I think, to about 75, 80 watts, you know what I mean? And every little electron counts. So if you want to be a little more manual and diligent, you can always come out when there's inclement weather and clean the dish off, right? Like we have our little cherry picker ladder, we could go up and clear the snow off. I really don't turn the heater off that often, only, you know, when we're in the dead of winter and we're not getting a lot of sun in the first place. You know, sometimes if we're trying to be conservative, we're getting a few days of clouds, you know, I'll do that and just manual clean the dish off as necessary. But that's really it in a nutshell. There's not a whole lot to it from a user's perspective. It's very hands-off. Like you just, like I say, you put the tripod in, you put the dish on top. The fun part is when you plug it in, it actually, you see the dish starts to move and it looks around to find its right spot. So as long as you've given it a clear northern line of sight, it's not like, you know, the traditional dishes that you have to you know, connect to a certain part of your house and make sure it's got that permanent line of sight. This thing will kind of look around and sort itself out as necessary, which is pretty neat. Well, that's it in a nutshell.
We're happy with it.
Yeah, we're very happy with it. It's been, you know, the alternative I think would have been painfully slowed DSL, which would be untenable. All right, yeah, sorry, we're back again to finish up our our Starlink review. I was sitting here holding my iPad. Kim asked me why I was holding it. I'm like, oh yeah, I wanted to do a speed test just live to show the performance currently. So on Ookla speed test, it also has its own built-in speed test. I've compared the two. They seem to match. So here I have a ping of 56 milliseconds, and right now it's hovering around 180 megabits per second. So pretty decent, at least for our uses, more than we'll ever need. And right now for the upload, it spiked at 30 megabits per second, and right now it's hovering at around 14, 15.
we've decided to prioritize this back wall because it's getting pretty cold up here now. It's definitely fall. We've had our first frost. So we really do want to get the chimney back together and cleaned out, and we don't really want to have to work around it. So we have all the pieces that we need from the farmhouse now. We just have a little bit of burning to do, but we have everything that we need for the bottom, the soffit, and the fascia. And once we get that done and all burned, we can hopefully install that, get most of that done today, and then it's just a matter of putting the chimney back together so we can have some fires inside, which we're both pretty pumped about. So